Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials.
Good morning, it's 7:15 on Saturday the 15th of January. Just making my way down to the land, and as always, not quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down the land. It's a really foggy, freezing cold morning this morning. It's still bloody dark, so I had to put some light on there so I could see what I was doing with the car. A few things to bring across to the cabin, but let me get myself in, opened up, and I'll catch up with you shortly once I've got settled in. Well, on a morning like this, first thing we need to be doing is getting the fire lit, because it is cold. We'll just give that a minute, see if it takes, and then I'll bring that stuff in from the car. Well, that seems to be taking okay. There's not that much wind this morning. It's really foggy. I don't know if you can see across the field or not, but really thick fog coming in. Anyway, let me get the things brought in from the car because it's too cold to be standing out here. Well, there we go. Chickens are getting their morning mixed corn and seed, as usual. Little red ones hanging around for the special treatment. The other one's actually getting a bit more ambitious as well. It's coming to see what's going on. Here we go. They are funny birds. The other ones just ignore me completely. You are a bit savage on my fingers, chicken. Right, let's get the feeders topped up. I'll be back later with some greenery and we'll check on the egg situation. Right, let's take a little look in here, see what we've got going on. As usual, plenty of mess to sort out. Let's make sure we've not got anything laid on the floor. No, just mess. Don't know why they keep heaping all of the wood shavings into that corner. Oh, we got one in there. None. 3 in there. None. It's unusual having one in this end box. They don't normally bother in here. They normally all hang out in the same one, which is this second nest box. But in all honesty, I don't care where they put them, as long as they put them. 4 eggs. They are slowing down. We're getting to around 2, sometimes 3 a day. I don't know why that's there either. Water, food, not looking too bad. I topped it up Thursday. I'll come back and top that up shortly. But for now, I want to get myself in the cabin and get a cup of coffee because it is cold this morning. Well, good morning. It's the weekend and it's a very cold and foggy weekend this weekend. We've had a lot of cold mornings this past week or two. Scraping ice off the car windows. A couple of times I've been down to check on the chickens during the week and the water's been frozen. Not their water, inside. But the hose pipes that come off the water storage tanks A couple of people commented on that, and you're right. That is something that I need to look at this year, because you never know. I mean, we have a couple of days during the odd week or two where it's quite severely minus temperatures, but then during the day it thaws out. I guess the question would be, how would I get on if we had a prolonged 2-week, 3-week of constantly below zero? I don't know, is the truth. Anyway, we're here, and I'll be spending a few hours down here today. There's a few little jobs. They're those non-jobs that you never quite get round to doing, but gradually they reach a peak, and you look and you think, actually it's not 1 or 2 now, it's 4 or 5 or 6 jobs I need to be doing. So I'll be getting some of those done today. I'll probably pull Little Red Tractor out, give that a warm up. That's not been run for a few weeks now. I just like to make sure that I'm doing that every so often. I'll probably pull a portable electric generator out as well and just fire that up. Just making sure that everything works as it should and is going to work should I really need it. I've got some greenery for the chickens. I'll pop that in shortly. And I've brought a few things down with me from the car. I've topped up again on chicken food. This was the mixed seed that I use rather than the layers pellets. I don't often see it when I'm out and about doing my normal shopping. It's kind of a seasonal thing, but I noticed some on Friday night, so I couldn't resist the temptation to grab a bag. I also noticed something else. I put a comment on the community page and on Facebook. One of the supermarkets here in the UK has started stocking fruit trees. They do that for a very short period, round about this time of year. They're probably a little bit early actually this year. And they go really quickly because they're about £7 a tree. If you buy them in pairs, you get them for £6 a tree. So I'll show you, I've picked up another couple. I am trying to think ahead this year, and I kind of think the focus of the video and the chat today is really about you guys and what are you doing to try and be a little bit more self-sufficient in food this year. We still are having crazy times for a variety of different reasons, and the crazy times we're having are having a big impact on not just food, but supply of essentials in general. But of course, food is probably one of the more important ones. So we have still got problems in the supply chain. We've got spiralling inflation now. New numbers came out last week. And it's not just here in the UK, it is a global thing. Inflation is becoming a very visible problem now, and governments can't ignore it anymore. So one by one they're all coming out and saying, oh well, yes, we're going to address this, don't worry, it'll soon start coming down. But it won't. You're going to see inflation as a big issue all the way through probably the summer and towards the back end of the year. And as governments try to tinker with the economy and the financial system in general, if we're not careful, that could just tip us into this big crash that I was suggesting last year might be on the horizon for this year. Ports in China, some of the biggest export ports have been shut down completely. This is primarily due to this latest Omicron variant. In fact, it's not just Omicron now, is it? There's another one. I forget what it's called now. Flurona or something like that. The combination of the flu and corona. Where's that tinfoil hat when you need it? whatever they're calling it and whatever the excuse is, the impact is that people have been forced off work into isolation, even if they're not actually sick. So we've got literally millions of people. We've got over 1 million in this country isolating. So times that by numerous countries and you're into the multiple millions of people. And that will have a massive impact on supply chain and production of everything pretty much. So I am thinking a lot about food this year. I did try my experiment last year to see how much I could produce in a year. And I also, for the first time, experimented with storage. And what I'll do today, we'll pop into the back of the cabin here where I've got potatoes stored away. I put those aside at the end of October last year. So they've been sat there from October, November, December, January, so coming up for 3 months. Some of them might have been there for just over 3 months. And we'll also probably take a little look in the polytunnel. I've not been in there for weeks because really there's nothing to do. And the only thing that's in there is the fruit trees or bushes that are overwintering, and of course the carrots, which I deliberately didn't take out of the ground. I've left them in those buckets as another experiment to see what would happen. Now we've had months now where they've been just sat there. I've not touched them at all. So they've been exposed to pest, they've been exposed to the sub-zero temperatures, and they've not really been watered either. So I don't know what I'm going to find in there, is the truth. But however good or bad or indifferent it is, I will show you, because I don't hide stuff. If it goes right, you see it's gone right. If it goes wrong, you see it's gone wrong, and hopefully there's a lesson learned there for everybody, including myself. But I am already thinking about what to plant and when. I've got some potatoes set aside which are chitting, so they're producing their little shoots. You'll know that I did put some in the garden room in December as another experiment to see whether they would actually survive through the winter and these sub-zero temperatures. And I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that they were being nipped by the frost. They've gone. They've been completely destroyed by the frost. I don't know what's happening under the ground, of course, because I can't see, but there's certainly no green shoots there at all. The only thing that's green at the moment is the cabbage that I put in back end of November, beginning of December, which has gone all the way through and is looking very nice actually. So I'm hoping that they will start to bulk out. I'll probably show you those as well shortly. So yeah, I'm already thinking about what to plant and when. Sweet potatoes, if you've been a long time viewer, you might remember that back in, that was the end of May, I think it was the very last day of May, 31st of May last year, I did an experiment with producing sweet potatoes. The process for getting the plants for those is a bit complex, so have a scroll back. It's at the end of May, beginning of June. I did a 7-week series of video clips showing from start to finish how you take a shop-bought sweet potato, gather shoots from it, they're called slips, I think, yeah, slips, and then put those slips in the ground to grow on further and produce sweet potatoes. If you are a long-term viewer, you'll remember that in December, I think, I dug those up. It was the completely wrong time of year to be doing that experiment, way too late in the year, but it did produce very small sweet potatoes. So it works, and the intention this year is to get ahead of the game a little bit. I know now that it takes 7 weeks from nothing to shoots that you can actually plant in the ground, and then you talked about probably another 8 to 10 weeks to grow decent sized sweet potatoes. So if I want to do that this year, which I do, I know that really in February I need to start growing those slips ready for planting after the last frosts, which in my part of the UK are at the end of April. I don't want to be planting those out when they could get hit by frost, as have the potatoes I put in December here. So lots and lots of stuff that I'm thinking about, but predominantly around food. I will be doing some other stuff now that I've got full planning permission for the cabin. I will be doing some work through the year on the cabin to make it a little bit more sustainable, shall we say. When I put these structures up, they were intended to be temporary. I didn't know how long the materials would last through the different seasons here. I didn't know how the construction method would stand up to the test of time. I didn't know lots of stuff. But having gone through the process over the last couple of years, I now know what works and what doesn't. And I know what improvements I need to make. So we'll be doing a lot of that as we go through this year as well. But right now, it is that time of year. We're in the depths of winter still. We're in freezing temperatures. So in terms of planting, not much I can do physically here, but I can, and you can, still try and get ahead of the game by planting in trays at home, where the temperatures are not going to be going into the minus inside the building overnight, as they can and do here. So what are you going to do this year? Let's set yourself some questions. I have a fair idea what my plan is over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks as we head towards spring. But I wanted to get your mind turning over and thinking what you could be doing, and try and get you to plan for food production this year. It doesn't matter how much it is. I fully get that not everybody has got a sizable garden. But if you use the methods I use with these buckets, even on a small area, you'd be surprised how much you can get yourself. And it is a very good learning curve, not just a tasty meal at the end of your activity. So yeah, what are you doing? Let me know, and let everybody else know in the comment section below. You can start planting out now into seed trays. Get those seeds started off in a warm place indoors, ready for planting out, because they all do take weeks. But if not doing anything right now, at least start thinking about stuff right now, and try and have a little plan as to what you might be tempted to do this year with food production. Anyway, enough of my chat. I've got greenery for the chickens to sort out. I've got those little jobs I need to sort out. I need to top that fire up, and I probably need another coffee, because this one yeah, has gone cold while I've been chatting away to you all. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, hope you are staying safe and well. It is the weekend. Get yourself doing something enjoyable this weekend, away from the normal humdrum of the work week. And do spend a bit of time thinking, planning ahead, because that's what prepping's all about. It's planning ahead for what might happen and putting us into a position where we can ride out and overcome whatever difficulties might come along. So get your thinking caps on, and I'll catch up with you later. Well, the chickens do love their greenery. And look at this. They're both here. Watch my fingers. God, this one does get close to my fingers. Don't know why that is. You see it trying to shoo off that other little red one. Come on, don't be a bully. There we go. There's something very therapeutic about this. Except when she gets my finger, of course. The other ones don't care. They just ignore me and do their own thing. But of course that means that the red ones get the pick of the crop. Oh, look at this. Cockerel's coming over. He's not so sure about me, especially when I talk. And it's getting a bit close to my fingers now. I think it's soon going to be time to let go. Oh dear. They are funny birds. Right, that's getting far too close now. So I'm going to leave them to it. Well, this is what we've got going on in the garden room. These cabbages have done really well and have held up all the way through this really severe frosts we've been having, and they're starting to bulk out a little bit now, which is nice. The potatoes I put in, you can see the ends of what's left of the stalk. The frost just killed those off, which I guess isn't that surprising, but it was an experiment. I now know that they're not going to survive over winter, even in here. I'm going to clear out these strawberries into the polytunnel. Those are 2 buckets of potatoes as well, and you can see that whilst there are shoots, they've died off because of the frost. I'll be tempted to leave those and see what happens with them. Just got that window open a little bit, put a bit of airflow through for the fire in the cabin just to keep that drawing. And this is what I bought in the supermarket. I got a cherry tree and I got a golden delicious apple. So I'm going to put those into pots rather than straight out into the field right now. You might remember I did that last year. I kept a few in here. I think there was 4 in here at one point in the garden room, just to keep them safe and to encourage a bit of root growth in the slightly warmer temperatures in here. And then I'll, as I did with the others, I'll plant those out at some point on the field once we've got rid of the frosts, so probably May, June time. But let's take a little look. I'll go into the cabin, drag out those boxes of potatoes that I put into storage. We'll see how those held up. Then we'll pop into the polytunnel. Bit doubtful as to what we're going to find in there, but you never know. It is what it is. And I'll also drag out Little Red Tractor, so lots of little things to be doing. Well, apologies for the background noise, but I've got the Little Red Tractor and my portable electric generator running. So let's take a little look. I've not been inside here. So these are the potatoes that I put into storage. No signs of any chits appearing on those. Certainly plenty of them. So they've been sat there in amongst all this newspaper, which is nice and dry, since October. Some were October, some were November, so I'm very, very happy with those actually. There doesn't seem to be any signs at all of any chits growing, no signs of rot. So really very pleased with those. Let's take a little look inside the other box. We know that one's okay. I'm hoping you can see this on the video. Oh dear. And here we go again. Nice clean potatoes. Again, no signs of any chitting. Yeah, very clean. Very nice. Just got to try and place them back in so that they don't touch each other. I'm very, very pleased with that. They've been inside there now for certainly 3 months. So it works. You can clearly store these long term. I know you can, because that's how we get them through the year. Farmers store them in bulk. But as an experiment, I'm really pleased. I guess the burning question now is, what are the carrots like? I'm not expecting as good a result, but let's go and take a look. Well, it seems like a lifetime since we were last in here. And it is a long time. I've got some containers there ready for planting out. I might be tempted to put the trees in there. We'll see. I've got to clear out the garden room, bring all the strawberries in here, make some space. These elderberry, these blueberry bushes and the fig tree are just overwintering. Don't expect to see any signs of life on those anytime soon. Having said that though, we have got buds on the blueberry. This one's still got some leaf on it. Oh yeah, loads of new buds on there, look. Will that focus in? Yeah. So there's the carrots. See how those have fared over winter. They've been sat there literally as they are now for ages. Don't know what's been going on in this one. Not quite sure what that is. Looks like something's been digging in there, which is a bit strange. I wonder if birds or mice have been in. Something's been in, because that's chewed, and clearly something's been digging in there. Yeah, loads of soil, look here. So I wonder what has been in here. It's got to be mice, hasn't it, really? Got to be. Well, I did say I didn't know what was in here, and clearly I wasn't lying. But something has been in, digging around in the carrots. We're back to that pest problem, aren't we, that we had last year? Let me get the camera set up on a tripod. I'll empty some of these buckets and we'll see what's been going on. Right, we'll drag some of these buckets across. It's noticeable that the plastic buckets don't appear to have been damaged, whereas the canvas ones, the fabric ones, clearly have. But anyway, let's take a little look and see what we've got in these. I need a tray. Bear with me a second. There we go. So actually we have got some decent carrots. Let's just take the leaves off. Don't know if you'll see this or not. Lots and lots of baby ones, as we had before, but some quite nice sized ones in there. Apologies for that. Clearly somebody's trying to call me just at the wrong time. So yeah, lots and lots of baby ones. These will be nice for the chickens. I'm sure they'll not complain at having these. So I'll pop those to one side. But in amongst them, I guess the most important thing is the condition, and to be fair, they're actually okay. They're I'm quite surprised. I was expecting a lot of them to have rotted away, and they haven't. I'll keep those for the chickens. Yeah, lots and lots of babies in here. So for me, for my meals, that bucket's not great. There are clearly some decent sized ones, which I'll keep. But the majority of this bucket is chickens. Baby carrots, like that. But they'll not complain. They'll be very happy to peck at those. Let's get rid of that soil. And let's take a look at another one. I'm not short of buckets. And again, they're in remarkably good condition. Not rotted at all. And some fairly decent sized ones as well. As with the other one, lots of babies, which, I mean, to be fair, I'll say the babies, they're small, but they would do in salads or for other meals. So I'm perhaps doing myself a bit of an injustice when I say that they're all babies, because they're not all babies. In fact, some of them are very sizable. But yeah, a lot of these will be going for the chickens. Because I can't be bothered more than anything else. If I was in a food shortage scenario, I'd definitely be eating these. But as I'm not in a food shortage scenario, I guess I'm being a little bit critical. Anyway, let me pull through some more buckets, and I'll come back to you a little bit later with what I've got. But clearly the chickens are going to have a feast, because there's an awful lot of these smaller sized ones. Awful lot. But yeah, let me sort through them, and I'll come back to you shortly. I've kept 3 buckets to one side for the moment. You can see the carrots on the floor for the chickens just down here, and the ones I've pulled for me over here. I'm just going to pull a couple of those canvas buckets so you can see what's been going on with those, and I'm hoping it shows on the camera. But look at that, something's chewed through the side of that canvas container. Got to be mice, hasn't it, really? got to be. Look at that. Get my hand through there, so that's ruined. And clearly they've just been feasting inside the bucket or the container, because there's nothing in there. There's just the greenery on the top. So actually that'll do to put the chicken stuff in. Yeah, we'll have that for the chickens. Yeah, so clearly mice, I'm guessing, have been just feasting away. Let me grab another one. Yeah, this one doesn't seem to... Yeah, it's not been chewed through, but something's clearly been eating on the top. Clearly. So let's take a little look inside, see what's in there. Yeah, that's empty as well. Just the odd stray nibbled carrots. They're buggers, eh? So I guess the learning curve from that is because I'm not here on a daily basis, the wildlife gets to know that they've got absolute free rein in here, and they have had for, I've not been in here for weeks. So while I'm away, they've been having a little shelter and food source. Oh dear. Anyway, I'll work through some more of these just to get the containers emptied out. I'm tempted, I've got 3 of these buckets that haven't been touched. I'm tempted to keep a few of those now that I know that they're not rotting away. They're preserving themselves inside the buckets. Yeah, let me finish this off and I'll come back to you once I've got tidied up. Well, that clear out took a lot longer than I was expecting it to. I've ended up with a couple of these fabric containers which have been chewed through, so they're no good now whatsoever. There's those 2 there, plus one that I've got the chicken's little harvest bounty in. The others I've salvaged, they're okay. I've put compost back into them. I'll reuse that compost during the coming year. Some of it's gone onto the raised beds outside, filled in a few holes where I'm guessing the rabbits have been digging. So I've ended up with this fabric container, which I'll be throwing because it's got a big hole in it, full of greenery and carrots for the chickens. I've ended up with a tray of carrots for me, which I'll be taking home. That'll keep me going for a good few days. And I've left these other 3 in the plastic pots. Clearly, whatever it was pest-wise, and I'm guessing it was mice, they couldn't chew through those, so they've survived, whereas the fabric ones didn't. And these are still full of carrots. So I'm really pleased with the little experiment, because although I have lost quite a bit to pests, it's proved that they will sit in there over winter and stay in really good condition. I had thought that they might have rotted, but clearly not. So that's another little lesson learned. Well, 2 lessons learned. Keep an eye out for mice, check more frequently, and if you're going to leave them for overwintering, leave them in plastic tubs rather than the fabric ones. Anyway, enough of this, I'm rambling. I'm going to get myself back in the cabin. I'll feed the chickens with their little carrot bounty, get myself warmed up because it is cold out here, bitterly cold. Maybe have another cup of coffee and it'll be time to go. Well, that's the 2 fruit trees. I'm going to unpack those in the polytunnel and just drop in a bit of water, give the roots a bit of a soak for a short while I busy myself getting these planters ready. I've got some bloodfish and bone powder. I'll just revitalise this compost, and then once they've had a little bit of a soak, I'll pop back in and we'll get them planted out. But really looking forward to adding these to the collection. I've got a variety of different apples, pears, cherry now, and hopefully having more than one of each, they will actually pollinate themselves. Fingers crossed. But anyway, I'll get these unpacked and get them stuck in some water. Well, this is how they come, covered in this polythene, cellophane, whatever you want to call it. That's very dry in there. If I can get this off, you'll be able to see. Well, I'm hoping you can see. I can't see what you're looking at, unfortunately. Just going to be a little bit careful. I don't want to savage any of the root that's in there. You would think there would be an easier way, but there isn't. This is just how it comes. Just got to be careful to wend my way around the bigger roots. I don't want to be cutting through root. There we go. Yeah, that's bone dry. So that just needs popping in a little bit of water, get soaked, and we'll be popping them into these containers, which are only just big enough or just deep enough. You don't want to be going too far above that top of the root ball, but there's enough there, you can see. So let's get the other one unpacked, get them soaked, and then we'll come back to planting. Right, that's the trees soaking. I've put the little labels on them just to remind me which is which. I think I'll remember, but just in case. This apple hasn't got very much root at all on it. That's the thing with some of these trees. Until you get them, you don't really know, but there's not a great deal of root on that one. Whereas this other, the cherry, has got quite a large root ball on it. So we'll just pop that back on there. Let these soak while I have a little cup of coffee. And we'll come back and pot them up. Oh, it's a cold day today. A very cold day today. I'm pleased I've got my coffee somewhere to sit out the way. The fire's gradually dying down. I'm not going to put any more on it because I'll be going fairly shortly, so I'll just let that die down. But the latent heat is very welcome sat here. I'm tempted to shuffle a bit closer. Yeah, so what do you think? Potatoes, very pleased with the result of the storage. They've been there 3 months and looking really nice. It's finding what works and what doesn't. The carrots, it was a bit of a surprise. I expected them to be pretty much as I'd left them weeks and weeks ago, but good learning curve there. I know now that they will store in the buckets. without any problem. They're not going to rot away, and I don't need to fret about sticking water on or anything like that. They'll just sit there for literally months, left just to fend for themselves. The other learning curve is the pest problem. Really, that's because it is easy to get into the polytunnel for all the little critters that are outside. Those side vents are open so they can get through there. They're sat on railway sleepers, the polytunnel is, so I'm guessing it's easy for them to get in underneath those, just burrowing like critters do. Though I must admit I've not seen any holes, but then I've not been looking. So yeah, a couple of lessons learned there. One about pest control, and the other one, which is the real bonus, carrots will sit there on their own and just store themselves in the ground. Have you tried any of this? I obviously don't know where all of you are in your journey. I know that some of you are growing, some of you are growing a lot more than I am, and in heated garden, greenhouse, polytunnels, whatever. But are you storing, or are you just harvesting and eating as you go along? If you're not storing, maybe it's something to think about. If you can produce enough in the space that you have to set aside into store, because we don't know what's going to happen with this supply chain. At the moment, I can go to the supermarket and I can just buy my vegetables. All right, sometimes the quality is a bit suspect, and sometimes, depending on the time of day, you might find that you can't get everything you want or the quantity that you want. But in theory, everything is still available right now. But I'm quite content in the knowledge that if next week suddenly the supermarkets didn't have vegetables for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, with what I have stored at the moment, I could actually get through that period. And mine was just a bit of an experiment, really. I just thought, instead of eating these now, let's see what happens when you put them in a box. So it tested the theory, which was what it was all about last year. It was all about how much can I produce, how early can I produce it, and can I store it? And the answer to all of those was yes. I did get an early start. I was growing, certainly by the end of March, I had seeds coming through in varying stages. I did get a little bit caught out with the late frost, but that's because it's not heated here. If it had been heated, because I knew a frost was coming, it would have been a different story, and I wouldn't have had that setback that I had in late March, early April, when we had those late frosts. So I know how early I can plant, and the ambition is to do it a little bit earlier with heating. I know where I want to plant my staple crops, and I now know that if I can produce enough of them, even these very, very simple basic storage techniques that I'm using do actually work. So let's see what happens this year. Hopefully we'll not have as many pest issues or bad weather issues as we did in 2021. But I guess even if we do, I've kind of learned lessons now that I should be able to overcome and adapt. Certainly the big issue with the watering, I'll overcome that now because I've got extra storage. So anyway, let me know. Let me know what you think about today's little exercises. Let me know what you're doing. If you've got any storage tips, let me know and let everybody else know. Or if you've got tips for getting started early, again, let everybody know. I'm going to finish this coffee off, get my fingers warmed up, then one final push back in the polytunnel, get those fruit trees planted into the pots. I'll drag them into the garden room because this is definitely pest free. There are no mice, rats, squirrels, rabbits, nothing's getting in here for sure, unlike the polytunnel. So I'll bring them in here, and this is a bit more resilient in the garden room as well in terms of temperatures than the polytunnel is, because those side vents just do let the temperature drop inside. And hopefully come May, maybe June at the latest, you'll see me planting those trees out. So let me get this down me, and then I can get finished off in the polytunnel. Well, there we go. That's the apple and the cherry tree planted. The apple was a bit of a challenge because it had a long base, but the rootstock was about 2 inches above the bottom of the actual stem of the tree, so I had to get a bigger bucket for that one. But they've both had a soak, they've both been planted out, had a good water, so fingers crossed we should see some signs of life over the coming weeks on these two. I'll just have to keep an eye on water levels, and hopefully they'll be better off in here than they are in the polytunnel, and definitely I think better off in pots for now rather than taking the gamble and putting them out on the field. I've had a bit of a pest problem before planting trees out. I also had, when I planted some hazelnut saplings, I planted those out, and wouldn't you know it, 2 days later we had a mega freeze. So yeah, better off in here I think, but you can let me know what you think in the comments section. Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, I welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. How about the storage? Really pleased with the potatoes, and really surprised to find that the carrots, apart from the ones that the mice had been eating of course, had held up really well in those plastic buckets and hadn't rotted off. Really surprised by that, so valuable lesson learned. What are you doing for food this year? Are you going to have a little experiment yourself and try something? I really would encourage you to, no matter how small scale it might be. There's nothing better than the taste of fresh veg that you've grown yourself. And of course, as I said in the cabin chat, the more you can grow yourself, the less dependent you are on shops and shop prices. Let me know what you think anyway in the comment section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.